car eating french fries with Sarah. She came up and visited me.
And they're good.
Oh yeah, really hot.
Oh, I know. Last time I had McDonald's fries, it felt like they didn't put any salt on it. I was so mad.
Well, today's video we're going to talk about how we weren't friends for a year.
Interesting time.
Oh yeah.
Why can't I see anything?
And so, how it started was Sarah was having issues at home, so we went and picked her up, and she moved in with me and my mom and my grandma for a while. And I convinced her to go to college with me in a different town instead of moving back home with her family, and to be independent.
Or to try to be.
And I was like, we'll move into the dorms, it'll be fine. Just don't room with me.
Yeah.
Sarah thought I was joking.
Yep.
I was like, I don't want to live with you. We can live right next to each other, but I really don't think we should live together in the dorm room.
And I was done.
Yeah.
I now know never ever really to live with friends in such a small capacity.
It wasn't the smallest dorm in the world.
No, but I mean, as far as like, there was no dishwasher. The sink was like super minuscule.
No oven.
No oven.
This one had an oven.
Our heater went out. Like, it didn't work.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't fix
The
it.
cooler wouldn't work.
Yeah. We had so many issues with our dorm itself that made things so much worse when it came around time that our issues were also occurring at the same time. And just did next.
So, Sarah roomed with this girl, and my roommate didn't move in. So, since I had lived at the dorms before, they were like, oh, you can have your own room.
I think it just worked itself out because we were already moved in. It's like, well, it only makes sense for you to have the room to yourself because it was your roommate that didn't show up. And
I was the oldest.
you were not just the oldest, but you'd been there the longest. We were freshmen in college compared to, well, I wasn't a freshman, but I was a freshman there. Because the whole college standard. And so it just made more sense.
We moved in. Sarah moved into the dorm with me. I had my own room, and she roommated with this girl that we had only met over text.
Yeah. That should have been my first clue that things weren't going to go well.
And so...
Well, that should have been my second clue, really. You telling me it wasn't going to be a good idea should have been my first clue.
Yeah. So I'm going to let Sarah take it off from here because she's the one who got angry first.
Yep. So we moved in. Things were fine for a good month or so. A little longer than that even. Well, we had like slight issues or whatever, but we resolved them pretty quickly. You know, like friends bicker and then things get resolved and things are fine. The only real issue I still had remaining was with my current roommate, which she didn't have a roommate to her room. So I just had issues with the person I was bunking with because her and I didn't get along very well and she wasn't really talkative and I'm a very talkative human being. So
Also, her boyfriend.
Also her boyfriend. She would have her over constantly. Have him over constantly and I didn't really like him and she wouldn't tell me ahead of time and then she would just randomly pop in or she would say, hey, don't come home because my boyfriend's here and we're gonna do stuff and I don't want you here. And I'm like, it's my room too and I have to study for my test, so I'm gonna come home. Sorry, should have told me in advance. But that was a whole other issue. And so I was just pretty angry with her a lot of the time. And Hannah went home to visit her mom a lot.
No,
and she
no,
went
I
to
didn't.
visit her boyfriend a lot too.
Not boyfriend.
Well,
Fling.
whatever he was called.
Abusive fucker.
Yeah, pretty much. So she went to visit that thing. And so she was almost never home unless she had classes. And
even then,
you know,
I wouldn't show up.
Yeah, a lot of the times it was just like she wasn't home. And so I got mad because roommate that was there all the time, she wouldn't help with dishes. Nobody would help with dishes, but I mean, Hannah wasn't home in hindsight looking back on it, so it's obvious that you don't do dishes if you're not home. That's just, if you're never home to have dishes, why would you have to do them also? So I was mad that that roommate never helped me with that, and she always left stuff in the shower and in the sink, and she dyed her hair one time and left all the box stuff there and left dye all over the shower, and we get dinged for that when we move out. So that was like the last and final straw. I was like, you need to clean up after yourself. And I didn't want to like I had told her things like this before and she just didn't listen. And so I was like, okay, I've had it. I'm gonna write up a roommate agreement, and if you don't agree to it, I'm moving out.
And this all happened over text.
Yeah, because Hannah was gone, and it was the only way for me to get in contact with both of them at the same time was for me to text them. And so it started with me just sending them the roommate agreement, like that I had typed up with all the possibilities I could think of that might come up as issues in the future, as well as the issues I was already having. And it was just like, you know, there's things that aren't working here. We need to fix them. And Hannah took it as I was saying it to her too. And I mean, in hindsight, looking back on it, I could definitely see where she was coming from because I sent it to the both of them. But the reason I had sent it to the both of them...
And she didn't give me a heads up at all.
Oh no, I didn't, and I should have. But I was pissed. And I was just like, I'm done. But I sent it to the both of them in a group text, and I was like, we need to make some changes or this isn't going to work. And so Hannah got pissed at me, and so did the other roommate. And so they started talking about it with each other.
And honestly, her side made more sense at the time. Now that I've heard Sarah's side, I can understand. They both just aren't the same personalities. They don't get along.
No, and I mean, we cleaned things a lot different. She'd leave things in our room for like a week at a time before she took it and cleaned it. And I'm like, excuse me, we're gonna get bugs. And not to mention, our sink is 100% full at all times. You can't just take one thing and wash it at a time. I need to be able to fill my water jug up because the water here is horrendous. I can't drink it. I need a purifier. And she would never fill my own purifier bottle back up when she would use it.
I didn't even know we had one.
Yeah, no, I got one from my aunt and I put it in the fridge and I was like, okay, well, we have to fill this every time it gets, you know, to a certain point, otherwise the filter can go bad and we have to change the filter this many times. So if you want to use it, that's the rules for it. And she's like, okay. And she uses it all the fucking time then and doesn't fill it. I was just like, I'm done. And so I sent that agreement, and then we all started arguing about it over text. And it got more elevated and more elevated. One, because we were always texting about it and not just talking in person. And two, because we were all mad at our own issues going on in our lives and things that were happening in our lives separately
honestly,
that we never talked about.
I'm not a nice person when you piss me off.
Exactly.
Or I feel like you betrayed me.
And neither
So
am I.
she was sitting on her bed. Not the nicest I've ever been to you.
Oh no.
But I was on the phone with my grandma.
Yep.
My grandma of all people.
Yep.
And I was complaining to her, you know, out loud so that Sarah could hear me. But I wasn't really talking shit, really.
No, you were talking shit.
I was complaining about how stupid you were being.
But you were saying some pretty mean words, and that's what got me.
And
I was like, we've been friends for how long, and you're going to say this about me?
So Sarah went to the RA, and we had to sit down for a meeting.
Yep, because they wouldn't just let me leave.
It cracked me up, I'm sorry. But I get it now. But at the time, I wasn't doing anything. She was always saying how, like, she felt attacked and stuff.
Well,
and I was like,
it was that you talking on the phone mixed with everything she had been saying to me in person when you weren't home.
Yeah, I don't know anything she said to you.
Well, she was a bitch. And so it made it worse. And so that's why it was like, we could sit in here.
And then So Sarah moved out to the dorm room next to ours until they could find a place for her in an empty dorm room.
Yeah, it was completely empty. It was being renovated, so there was a guy in and out all the time. There was no locks on the door or anything. Well, there was a lock on the front door itself, but a lot of the times I couldn't lock it because he needed to come in. And there was no lock on my door itself either. Actually, I think there was. I just couldn't use it from the outside, so it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I was in there for a really long time, and the RA, she was like, oh, I think you're going to stay here. There's going to be one other person moving in with you, maybe two, bunking together, but that's it. You're going to have your own room, so hopefully there won't be as many issues, you know, as far as bunking with somebody else. And don't worry about the payments of it or whatever, because it wasn't your fault that, you know, things went bad, and this is the only room we have available, so we're not going to upcharge you for what is our fault and not yours, you know. It's like you moved me into a single room from a double, not I requested for one. So for a while I was living there, and then suddenly, like in a split second, she was like, this is your eviction notice to this room. You have to find someone else to bunk with. You have this much amount of time. It was like 24 hours.
Which doesn't make sense, because I had lived there for a while, and I was like, oh, me and the girl, the roommate that we had, we were living together, just alone, just us two, with our own separate bedrooms. And come December, the landlord lady was like, we can't have two singles in one room.
Right.
And I was like, the next door neighbors are two singles in one
But they
room.
paid for it. You didn't.
Well, even I told her I would, and she's like, no, we don't do that.
Yeah, because you had already started the payment. They couldn't switch it up.
I was doing month to month. So she could have, but I'm saying, like, she's like, we don't do that. You have to have two and one. Or 2 and 2.
Oh, no, because the next door neighbors that ended up moving into the one I was in and kicked me out and made me move to another place, she had them both in singles. They both paid for singles. At first they were going to room together and I was going to have my own room. And then they decided that they were going to both have singles.
But Sarah
in
ended
a
up
brand new renovated house.
Sarah ended up with some awesome roommates. I ended up moving out.
Yeah.
I was working at Walmart, so I was driving from Mariposa to Walmart every day.
Yeah, and so her issues and mixed with the fact that of things going on at home just resulted in her needing to leave.
Yeah.
And I ended up being able to finish out the semester with a really good roommate. The only issue I maybe had was sleeping, and that was only if I didn't go to bed first, which granted me was typical. But I found ways around it, like earplugs and stuff. So it was fine. And we make great friends, and we are still friends.
Didn't we see her today?
Yeah, we saw her today.
Yeah, we saw her today.
And she's an awesome person. And
yeah, I met her. She seems nice. A little too nice, but...
Yeah.
She's
got a really great, bubbly personality.
I like mean people.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Like, just people that kind of get your vibe,
like,
and like match
you
your
and me
friend.
are mean to each other. Me and Amanda are super mean to each other.
But at the same time, we're best friends.
It's a loving way. Me and Dakota are mean to each other. So.
Yeah. So, you know, we worked out fine for the rest of the semester. We had yoga together, and I was going home or working a lot. So I wasn't really home all that much after that anyway, because I went to go see my mom. And then
months later, I mean, like, well, there was a year between, and then last year in, I want to say April,
around there,
I went with my friend Naya and her family, and, well, not her family, but like her husband and her baby and stuff, and we met Sarah's brother, who I have had a long history with. He's something else.
He's on a whole other level.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get into that one eventually, but I don't want to be yelled at. So,
yeah.
But we were good. We were on speaking terms,
and things were fine for the two of them.
And then,
at the
so
time.
Sarah saw pictures of us together on his Facebook.
Yeah, I think
and she's
so.
like, because you had unblocked me.
Yeah, no, I think I had unblocked you, but...
No, you didn't block me, you just unfriended me.
Yeah.
So I couldn't see anything. So she's like, what were you doing with Hannah?
Yeah, I was like, what were you doing with her? We're not on speaking terms. This isn't okay.
And he's like, She's not even mad at you. I don't know why you're overreacting.
And I'm like, what? She's not? I mean, that's the whole reason I left, was because she was talking shit about me right in front of me and made me feel like she hated me.
That's what I do when people piss me off.
And so
I'm very good at it.
And so I'm like, okay, I'm confused now. And I took I think maybe like a day for it to like go through my head of like, okay, maybe if I talk to her, things are gonna be okay.
And then all of a sudden I get a message from Sarah and I was like, should I open this? Might as well.
And
I'm in a forgiving mood.
And she opens it and she's like, who's this? She totally...
No, did you text me or did you Facebook me?
I totally texted you.
That's because I did delete your number.
Yeah. And
Usually
she's like,
I did
who's
that,
this?
I did that to her brother quite a few times in the past like 7 years. I didn't delete his number or anything. I just to fuck with him. Yeah, because he'd make me so angry. He'd talk to me and then he'd be like, oh, we shouldn't be friends anymore.
The front light just came on.
Well, we gotta go. We'll finish this story later.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye.